For every Jerry Rice, there are a dozen scrubs.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So how about we take a look back into yesteryear and break down the worst wide receivers in every NFL team's history. Arizona Cardinals, Aaron Dobson. The Cardinals love taking chances on reclamation projects, but Aaron Dobson was one gamble that flopped hard. Originally a second-round pick by the Patriots in 2013, Dobson just never lived up to his potential. Atlanta Falcons, Cedric Bonner. Cedric Bonner was an undrafted free agent who the Falcons hoped could be a hidden gem in the early 2000s. He never even recorded a catch and flamed out of the league by 2008. Baltimore Ravens, Rashad Perriman. From the jump, things went sideways. Perriman missed his entire rookie season due to a knee injury that just refused to heal. The following year, he finally got to the field, but inconsistency reigned supreme. Not exactly what they expected from the 26th overall pick. Buffalo Bills, James Hardy. At 6'6", James Hardy was supposed to be a red zone menace, a guy who could outjump any defender, but he just ended up being an afterthought. Drafted in the second round in 2008, Hardy lasted just 2 seasons, racking up a grand total of 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. Carolina Panthers, Dwayne Jarrett. Panthers fans were pretty hyped when Dwayne Jarrett arrived in 2007. A second-round pick out of USC, he was supposed to be the next Keyshawn Johnson. Instead, he gave the Panthers 35 catches over 4 painful years. Chicago Bears, David Terrell. The Bears' 8th overall pick in 2001, David Terrell talked a huge game. He just kinda, forgot to back it up. Terrell never managed more than 700 yards in a season and spent most of his time blaming everyone else for his shortcomings. Cincinnati Bengals, Peter Warrick. Peter Warrick was college football royalty, a human highlight reel at Florida State. But when the Bengals took him 4th overall in 2000, that magic did not follow him to the pros. He showed flashes, but flashes don't cut it for a top 5 pick. Cleveland Browns, Carlton Mitchell. Carlton Mitchell was just about as bad as it gets for the Browns in the early 2010s. He played 2 seasons for the Cleveland Browns and managed just 3 catches for 31 yards. Woof. Dallas Cowboys, Quincy Morgan. When the Cowboys picked up Quincy Morgan in 2004, they were hoping for a midseason spark, but instead, he just failed to acclimate. He finished the year with just 260 yards and no touchdowns. Denver Broncos, Nate Jackson. Nate Jackson had almost an impossibly low level of production. Considering how long he played for Denver from 03 to 08, he only managed to rack up 27 catches for 240 yards. Detroit Lions, Mike Williams. If you want to talk about Lions draft bust, Mike Williams is a Hall of Famer in that category. Taken 10th overall in 2005, Williams showed up out of shape, slow, and completely unmotivated. Green Bay Packers, Sanjay Beach. He finished his lone season in Green Bay playing 16 games, but catching only 17 passes for 122 yards and 1 touchdown before he was cast aside. Houston Texans, Jalen Strong. When the Texans took Jalen Strong in the 3rd round in 2015, they thought they had a steal, but instead, they got a wideout who couldn't separate, couldn't catch, and couldn't stick on the field. Indianapolis Colts, Philip Dorsett. Speed can't fix everything, and Philip Dorsett proved that. Drafted in the 1st round in 2015, Dorsett was supposed to be the Colts' next big playmaker, but instead, he was a guy who ran fast in a straight line and did very little else. Jacksonville Jaguars, Matt Jones. A college quarterback turned NFL wide receiver? Yeah, that sounds like a bit of a gamble. Drafted in the 1st round in 2005, Matt Jones was big and athletic, but never figured out the finer points of being a wideout and flamed out of the NFL after 4 uninspiring seasons down in Duval. Kansas City Chiefs, John Baldwin. John Baldwin had the size and athleticism of a top-tier receiver. What he didn't have, hands, consistency, or football IQ. Taken in the 1st round in 2011, Baldwin teased with highlight reel catches but disappeared when it mattered most. He ran sloppy routes, dropped easy passes, and by year 3, the Chiefs just gave up. Las Vegas Raiders, Darius Hayward-Bay. Speed kills, unless you can't catch the ball. Drafted 7th overall in 2009, Darius Hayward-Bay was an Al Davis special, pure speed with 0 finesse. He had hands of stone, ran routes like he was blindfolded, and made Raiders fans groan with every single drop. The guy could good run at 4.3, but what good is that if the ball just bounces off your fingertips? Los Angeles Chargers, Craig Buster Davis. Buster is right. Taken in the first round in 2007, Buster Davis was a walking disappointment. Injuries, poor production, and a lack of big playability defined his Chargers career. Los Angeles Rams, Austin Pettis. Austin Pettis was supposed to be a dependable possession receiver when the Rams drafted him in 2011. But when it was time to get on the field, he was far from dependable. He dropped passes, couldn't create separation, and ran routes like he was lost in a maze. Miami Dolphins, Clyde Gates. Clyde Gates was a speedster with no clue on how to play a wide receiver. Drafted in 2011, Gates caught just 13 passes in 2 seasons and looked like he was running routes in the dark. The Dolphins hoped for a deep threat, but they got a guy who threatened their own offense by wasting snaps. Minnesota Vikings, Charles Johnson. No, not the good Charles Johnson. This Charles Johnson was drafted in 2013. He was an exercise in frustration for Vikings fans, and in 2 seasons, he caught just 2 touchdowns and vanished more often than he appeared. New England Patriots, Chad Jackson. When the Patriots drafted Chad Jackson in 2006, they thought they had an Ocho Cinco 2.0. But what they really got was a receiver who couldn't catch a cold in a blizzard. Jackson ran fast in shorts and a t-shirt, but melted under the bright lights. In 2 seasons, he managed just 13 catches before Bill Belichick had seen enough. New Orleans Saints, Kevin White. While he may not have been the same level of disappointment he was to the Bears who actually drafted him, Kevin White was still a massive fail of a reclamation project for them. The former 7th overall pick managed just 28 receptions over his entire career there. New York Giants, Ron Dixon. Drafted in 2000, Dixon was a massive disappointment for New York. His potential never materialized despite a steadfast hope that he would get it together. And when all was said and done, Giants fans remember him more for what he didn't do than what he did do. New York Jets, Stephen Hill. Stephen Hill was a physical freak, and there is no doubt about that. He was selected by New York at 43 overall in the 2012 draft out of Georgia Tech. But he had 0 polish and was never able to really get it together. In fact, I might go as far as to say that the 6'4" Hill had speed and size, but hands made of concrete. His routes were sloppy, his drops were painful, and when all was said and done, his potential was wasted. Philadelphia Eagles, Freddie Mitchell. Freddie Mitchell, the man who called himself Fred X because he claimed he always delivered. Well, the only thing he consistently delivered on was a headache. Drafted 25th overall in 2001, Mitchell was all hype and no production. He had a couple of big moments in his 4 years, but he never topped 500 yards in a single season, and he was horrible at getting along in the locker room. Pittsburgh Steelers, Limas Swede. Steelers fans have a long tradition of tough, reliable receivers, but Limas Swede was not one of them. A second-round pick in 2008 out of Texas, Swede had size, speed, and Steelers fans were just drooling all over him. Despite multiple chances, Swede never was able to put it together, finishing his 2-year career with just 7 catches. For a team known for wide receiver talent, Swede was the kind of mistake that made fans want to scream into their terrible towels in anger. San Francisco 49ers, A.J. Jenkins. If there is a Hall of Fame for draft busts, A.J. Jenkins is getting a first ballot induction. Taken 30th overall in 2012 out of Illinois, Jenkins showed up in San Francisco and promptly did nothing. He couldn't get open, couldn't catch, and looked completely overwhelmed. A whole lot of good that 4.4 speed did for him. The 49ers had seen enough after just 1 year and traded him to the Chiefs, where he didn't fare much better. Seattle Seahawks, Jordan Kent. Granted, the expectations weren't super high for Jordan Kent as a 6th-round pick, but the former Seahawks receiver was truly terrible. After a productive career at Oregon, where he also played basketball and ran track, he managed just 1 NFL catch for 5 yards. Tough. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Dexter Jackson. Dexter Jackson was a 2nd-round pick in 2008 who was supposed to add speed and playmaking. Instead, all he added was frustration and regret. He lasted just 1 season, registering 0 catches. Tennessee Titans, Randy Moss. While Randy Moss was a bona fide Hall of Famer, his tenure in Tennessee left a lot to be desired. He finished with just 80 yards and 6 catches for the 1 season that he played over there. Washington Commanders, Taylor Jacobs. A second-round pick in 2003 out of the University of Florida, Taylor Jacobs was supposed to be the next big thing in Washington. Instead, he was just the next big bust. Injuries, bad hands, and inconsistent play led to just 30 catches in 3 years for Washington. No shocker there, though, I suppose. That's just kind of how it went for the then Washington Redskins in the early 2000s. But hey, what NFL team's wide receiver do you think was the worst of all time? Who do you think we got wrong here? Was there anyone that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, then clicking the like button helps us out a ton, and you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.